This is a trial of a pilot system. It's hardly a commitment.
Good morning, Laura. Well, look, it is an important movement because what we've seen across particularly the pandemic is that these are some of the heroes of the pandemic. The community has become really accustomed to rideshare, to food delivery. You know, these workers delivering food to our homes and our businesses during lockdown was absolutely critical. So the community values the work, but what we've seen is that these workers haven't been valued. And at the end of last year, tragically, 5 riders in the space of 11 weeks lost their lives because of the intense pressure that's on them as they're performing their work, trying to navigate through busy city traffic. And this is a welcome announcement. You are right, there's a long way to go here. But it is a significant acknowledgement that there's a gap between the community expectations and how the work is valued and the workers themselves. And we think that Menulog has made a significant announcement that we are eager to support and work with them to try and get a pathway to better terms and conditions for these valuable workers.
Speaking of working with them, have you been working in cahoots with Menulog up to this point?
We work in cahoots with anyone who wants to lift the standards of workers across our community. We've had discussions with Menulog in the past, but this is a decision I think that comes particularly from their association with their parent company in Europe, which has rolled out this model of increased standards for workers successfully in European countries, and they've decided that they're going to attempt to roll that out in Australia. We should give them all the support that they need, but there's been an absolute deafening silence, Laura, from the federal government. What's needed here is for our laws to be updated. They're hopelessly out of date. And to support companies who want to do the right thing, like Menulog, the laws need to be reformed. And the market needs to be reformed so that workers can be safe in their work and they can earn a reasonable and secure living for their families.
Well, what, on average, are Menulog drivers and delivery riders earning at the moment?
Well, the surveys that we've conducted over the last 12 months show that, on average, these workers receive less than half of the minimum wage. And, of course, that is a problem because riders will attempt to maximise their earnings. They'll try and get a living wage by working longer or faster or taking shortcuts on the road. And unfortunately, we've all seen that. And we've seen the consequences of it with the deaths last year. So any move to enhance those terms and conditions, to give riders a living wage so they don't have to take those risks, and to support those riders when they're injured or in those terrible circumstances for their families when they die, is absolutely critical. But the federal government is in charge of workplace laws, and it should support this move by Menulog by bringing our laws up to date so that there can be a level playing field and that all riders in this market can have appropriate support.
Look, I should point out there's a lot of data around what these delivery riders do earn. There was a report, albeit commissioned by Uber just last week, that showed that it was slightly above the minimum wage. So I guess that we don't have a clear picture on that. But one final question, Michael Kaine. The changes here, does it mean less flexibility, which, as you say, had been the real hero during the pandemic? People were getting income from Uber, Menulog, other delivery services that might not have got otherwise.
Yeah, well, two things, Laura. Firstly, the figures on minimum wage put out by Uber last week don't even come to the minimum wage. They're at $3 below that, even on their view of the world, which is dodgy methodology. But this is an important question you raise. There's a mythology that these companies have built up that flexibility and fairness are at odds with each other. Now, our Australian system of industrial relations over 100 years has struck a great balance for workers between flexibility for business on the one hand and fairness. And there's no reason that it can't do it again, but we need the federal government to step in, bring the laws up to date. We've got hundreds-year-old laws here about independent contractors and employees. If you're employees, you get everything. Independent contractors, you get nothing. We need to bring those up to date.
Well, who pays? Just quickly, should taxpayers pay, or should it be the businesses that do that?
Well, I think the question you need to ask the general community is, do they enjoy the convenience? Of course they do. Of course, if you ask them the question, would they be willing to pay a little bit more for this service if workers were safe and they were getting a fair living, then I think the answer to that question would be yes as well.
Okay, Michael Kaine, this is one we will certainly keep a very close eye on. Thanks so much for your time.
Thanks, Laura.